Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from and what time it is there. That way, YouTube will keep showing you more stories like this. Now, let's begin. I'm Carrie, 31 years old. I'm really independent. When I turned 18, I moved out to start living on my own and be independent. At first, I stayed in a rundown mobile home that my cousin lent me. I worked 2 jobs at the same time. I was a waitress during the day and a bartender at night. I went a different route compared to my friends who were the same age. Everyone else went to college and then looked for a job, but I decided to earn money first, find a comfortable place to live, and then either go to college or stick with the job I was doing. After 4 years of working hard, I saved up some money. I rented a small house to gradually improve my quality of life. The house I rented belongs to Mr. Robbie, who's 56 years old. The house is pretty close to the center. There were quite a few things that needed fixing in the house, but I was able to tackle them while I was moving in. I also spent quite a bit on furniture. The biggest expense was the wardrobe for the bedroom. I was hoping Uncle Robbie would have one and leave it for me, but I was a bit disappointed. My budget was almost gone, but I had my own house. I was still working 2 jobs and was constantly busy, coming and going late. Even though I had a nice house, I was only home for about 5 to 6 hours a day. One night, I came home at 11 p.m., feeling awful. I usually came home around that time. But that day, on top of my usual fatigue, my feet were sore from standing for hours. All I wanted to do was soak in the tub. When I entered the bathroom, I paused for a few seconds as the hot steam surrounded me, and I noticed some wet spots on the floor. I guessed that someone from the construction team had used the toilet. But why didn't they use the one in the living room? I thought to myself as I walked over to the bathtub and turned on the water. When I went back to the bedroom to get my pajamas, I stopped in front of the large mirror. Let's talk a bit about the bathroom design in my room. It would have been fine if there wasn't a huge mirror in there. It was 1.5 times taller than me and wider than my arm's length. I wondered why Uncle Robbie needed such a huge mirror in the bathroom. I also thought about redesigning the mirror in the bathroom, but couldn't get to it yet, since I needed to prioritize other areas. Back to that evening, what made me space out for a few minutes was the message written in steam on the mirror. "I can see you." I figured it was someone from the construction team who wrote it. He seemed like the funny type. I wiped the words away and quickly got back to relaxing. About a week later, all the repairs and construction in the house were finished. Seeing the final results, I felt proud and a bit emotional. I finally had a comfortable bedroom to come home to after long, tiring work hours, a safe and secure parking spot. These things motivated me to work even harder. One morning, I walked into the bathroom still half asleep. With my eyes half closed, I stood in front of the mirror brushing my teeth. When I washed my face, I suddenly got startled. "Have a nice day. Are you ignoring me?" My nerves instantly went on high alert. I looked around the bathroom and bedroom, then ran down to check the kitchen and living room. I checked all the doors in the house. The main door and the back door had been completely replaced, and the windows had new locks. They were all still locked and showed no signs of tampering. I was sure I'd kept them locked since I wasn't home very often. With a baseball bat in hand, I checked every nook and cranny of the house to see if someone might be hiding. In fact, there was nowhere to hide in the small house, and I couldn't find anyone or anything suspicious. I pulled out my phone and called Uncle Robbie to ask if there were any other entrances to the house. "Do you mean rats?" "No, I mean a human passageway." Uncle Robbie assured me firmly that there were no other entrances. Maybe the construction workers left it there just to mess with you. I thought the same thing after seeing that the furniture was still intact and tidy. There was no sign of any disturbance or intrusion in the house. I put it aside, and everything went on as usual for the next week, until that fateful night, when I woke up to go to the bathroom. Another line appeared on the mirror, and this time, it wasn't just a message. "I will haunt you." I reacted strongly and called Uncle Robbie again, even though it was already midnight. It wasn't until the third call that he finally answered. Without letting him speak, I bombarded him with questions about the mirror in the bathroom. "Do you remember me telling you about the special arrangement of things in the bedroom?" Uncle Robbie's words surprised me. Had I missed something? "There's going to be a large wardrobe in the bathroom instead of the bedroom." "But I don't see a wardrobe, just a huge mirror," I told Uncle Robbie and pushed the mirror. It suddenly moved, like a door opening, and behind it was indeed a large, dark wardrobe. When the glass opened wide, I was startled to see a man's face. His hair was messy, his eyes were wide open, and his mouth was grinning widely. The darkness of the wardrobe seemed to swallow his body, making it look like a floating head was smiling at me. I screamed as loud as I could, and on the phone, I could hear Uncle Robbie's anxious voice calling my name. I rushed out of the house, hid in the car, locked the doors, and called the police. The police found the strange man still hiding in there. In the wardrobe were a few personal belongings, some canned food, and household items that I thought I had lost. The man didn't explain or answer any questions from the police. He was sometimes sullen and fierce, and other times cheerful and smiling. After that traumatic event, I continued to live in the house for about a year. I'm now living in a more complete apartment, studying for a university degree, and managing a restaurant. I always feel lucky that the intruder was just a man who wasn't in his right mind and not some cold-blooded murderer. I'm Jonathan, 17 years old. I am an only child. My parents own a company and are very busy. One day, I came home after school and received a message from my mom on the refrigerator door. "I prepared food in the fridge. Dad and I will be home late tonight, so remember to lock the door carefully." After dinner and taking a shower, I checked all the doors and windows in the house, and then went to my room. There is no homework today, so I have plenty of time to use the new laptop that Dad gave me for my birthday last week. I went into the chat room to look for friends to talk to, but am I the only one free today? For 30 minutes, no one showed up. I left the chat room and played a few games. After a while, I looked at the clock, and it was 11 o'clock. I went downstairs to get water, and my parents still hadn't returned. Back in my room, I closed the game app and browsed through my social media for a while. Just as I was about to turn off the computer and go to sleep, a video call notification from an unfamiliar account suddenly appeared. I hesitated for a few seconds, then put on my headphones and decided to press the green button. My image appeared in the corner of the screen, but on the other side was just a black, silent screen. "Oh, hello?" I said, but there was no response. There was still silence and a black screen. I briefly thought that it might be one of my friends playing a prank on me. Could it be that a ghostly face is about to leap out of the screen? After a few more seconds with no other signs, I said, "I'm going to end the call now." Just as I was about to end the call, a faint light began to appear. The face of a girl. She was beautiful, with delicate features that made me freeze for a few seconds. Even with just a little light, it was enough to clearly see her beautiful features. I greeted her and gave a shy smile, but she didn't respond. Instead, she sent a message. "Help me." I was startled and looked back at the girl. The beauty that was once there was now replaced by fear. Her eyes were filled with tears, and her face was pale. Without giving me a chance to respond, the girl continued to message. "Please help me. He's breaking into my house." "What's going on? Where are you?" "I'm in the closet. There's an intruder in my house. He's searching for me." The girl couldn't stop crying. Her messages were completely misspelled, but fortunately, I could still understand them. I kept asking about the situation, but the screen reverted to the black state it was in before it seemed like she had closed the laptop. Several minutes passed, and it remained the same, but I could sense very faint breathing. She must still be there. My heartbeat quickened with each passing minute of waiting as I stared at the laptop screen. I checked the clock. 5 minutes had passed. "Are you still there? Are you okay?" I said. The girl gradually reopened the laptop and began typing a message to me. I noticed a red streak smeared across the corner of her camera. "It looks like blood," I murmured. "He's coming into the room. He's about to find me. Please call the police for me." "I'll help you call the police. What's your name?" I asked her, speaking as quickly as possible while dialing the phone. "Fiona." "All right, Fiona. Quickly tell me your address." She replied, and my heart nearly stopped. The address she gave was my own. I couldn't believe my eyes. How could this be? Is it a prank? I asked for the address again to confirm. At that moment, a loud noise came from the other side. The girl clutched her head, crying hysterically in panic. I was bewildered, pacing back and forth in the room, my mind spinning with the information I had just received. The house was eerily silent. I went down to the living room and the kitchen. Everything seemed normal. But the strange thing was that the sounds from Fiona, her footsteps, became increasingly clear, as if they were coming from my own house. I returned to my bedroom, trying to listen more closely. The sound of typing on a keyboard was echoing loudly. It felt like it was coming from right next to me, not from Fiona's side. It seemed like it was coming from inside the closet. Gripping the scissors on the table tightly, I slowly approached the closet, filled with fear but also unable to resist the feeling of curiosity. I took a deep breath and flung the door open. Fiona's scream of pain and fear from the laptop startled me. The video call ended, leaving the space in eerie silence at midnight. I looked into the closet and searched through it, but found nothing unusual. It took a few more minutes for my mind to regain control over my body. I called my parents. They were on their way home as well. That night, I stayed awake. The room light was on, and the closet was left wide open with clothes scattered outside. I had to make sure the closet was completely empty, with nothing hidden inside. I was so exhausted that I fell asleep when it was already morning, and woke up at 3 p.m. My parents came to the room to wake me up. Dad had learned more information after researching the history of the house. Before my family bought and moved into this house, there had been a horrific murder case. The victim was a 17-year-old girl from the family. While home alone, the girl was confronted by an intruder. After fighting back, the girl hid in the closet, only able to grab her laptop to call for help. The next morning, her parents returned and found their daughter in the closet. And that closet was exactly where Fiona met her end, with 60 stab wounds on her body. I never thought my chill life would one day take such a terrifying turn. It was this gloomy fall day. My parents were out at some conference, and I was home alone, way out near the woods. That evening, I swung by the closest gas station, after hanging out at my best friend's place. The dim neon lights made the place feel creepy. There was a guy standing by the gas station while I was filling up my car, his face hidden under a low baseball cap. He had on a bulky, dull brown coat, and I could feel his eyes on me the whole time. As I snapped the gas cap shut, the guy walked up and asked how to get to the interstate. His voice was low, not really threatening, but definitely not friendly either. I gave him directions, being polite but quick about it. As I turned to head out, a chill ran down my spine. Driving home, I noticed a car behind me, its headlights way closer than usual. At first, I figured it was just another car going the same way, but every time I sped up or slowed down, it kept the same exact distance. When I turned onto the dirt road toward home, the car suddenly stopped, and its headlights went out. I glanced in the rearview mirror, but all I could see was darkness swallowing everything up. I tried telling myself I was just being paranoid, but the feeling wouldn't go away. That night, in the quiet house, I heard this soft voice like a whisper on the breeze, calling my name from outside the window. When I looked out, there was nothing but darkness, and the trees swaying in the wind. The next day, it got even worse. When I went out to grab something from the car, I could feel a figure hanging back behind the garage wall. I called the police, and when they showed up, they went around with their flashlights, checking the woods and the backyard. But they didn't find anything. One of them told me to stay calm and keep my phone on me, but the look in his eyes said he thought I was making it all up. I knew what I heard was real. Another night, after getting back from work, I heard footsteps crunching on dry leaves, and this slow, heavy breathing. I didn't look back. I just bolted straight for the door. But once again, he was gone, like he was never there to begin with. I called my parents, and they told me to go crash at a friend's place until they got back. But stepping out right now felt like asking for trouble. I decided to stay home for the night and pack up, so I could head to a friend's house first thing in the morning. As I got out of the car and went into the house, the fear from the past few days hit me all over again. Out of nowhere, someone rushed at me from behind. All I could make out were these cold eyes behind a mask. He yanked my arm hard, and I could feel his hot breath on my neck. Then I felt a sharp pain in my back, like something had stabbed me. In a total panic, I swung my bag as hard as I could and smashed it into his face. It threw him off just long enough for me to jump into the car and lock the doors. I slammed on the gas, my heart racing, so fast I thought it might explode. When I got to my friend's place, I called the police, and they showed up about 10 minutes later at both spots, my house and my friend's. They checked everything around both places, but didn't find a single trace of the guy. It was like he'd vanished into thin air, like he was never even there. For the next few days, I was on edge about everything. Every tiny noise made me jump. What kept me up at night, what wouldn't let me relax, was the one question I couldn't answer. Who was he, and why did he come after me? The fear and the constant feeling of being watched were, like a heavy weight I couldn't shake, in the days that followed. The police still didn't find a single trace of the guy, and all they could say was that maybe I imagined it all, because of stress. But I knew what happened was real. I kept hoping my parents would get back soon so I could stop living like this. But then they texted saying something came up at work and they couldn't come home as planned. I didn't have any other options, so I decided to go back home. That night, while I was in the kitchen, I heard footsteps coming from the attic. I grabbed a kitchen knife and slowly made my way up the stairs. Using my phone flashlight, I swept the attic with the beam. At first, everything looked normal, until I saw a dirty mattress, empty food containers, and photos of me, taken without me knowing. There were pictures of me at the gas station, on the drive home, and even in my bedroom. I turned around, and there he was. Before I could even react, he came charging at me. In a total panic, I swung the knife. He went down, breathing weakly, then just stopped. I bolted out of the house, called the police, and stood there crying, shaking, and scared out of my mind, with blood all over my hands. When the police got there, they found out he was a wanted criminal who'd been on the run for the past 3 months and had probably been hiding out in my house the whole time. It hit me. He'd been watching me this entire time. It was horrifying, and I completely broke down, sobbing. But what sent chills down my spine even more was when the police checked his phone. They found a video of him talking to my parents. In the video, my parents were standing there with him at the gas station, having a full-on conversation. At first, it looked like they were just talking to some random guy, but then my dad handed him a wad of cash and a map. And then my mom's voice came through, cold and sharp. "Here's the key. Get it done quickly and cleanly." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could they do this? I started shaking, feeling like my whole world just fell apart. The police took all the evidence right away, but they wouldn't say anything about it yet. I begged them to dig deeper. A few days later, they uncovered something absolutely horrifying. My parents were drowning in debt. The guy they hired wasn't just some random criminal. He was a pro, a hitman who'd done cleanup jobs for cash. I wasn't just a random target. He came after me because I was their daughter. It felt like my parents saw me as nothing but a burden, and the life insurance money from me was their way out of debt. That truth cut deeper than anything. The people I trusted and loved the most had turned me into prey. The police started digging deeper into the case, but my parents were gone, just disappeared without a trace. I was left alone with an empty house and the kind of nightmare that sticks with me forever. When it all came out, it shattered me. It felt like every piece of my broken heart was slicing into my soul, leaving a pain I couldn't shake. I used to believe that no matter what, even if the whole world turned its back on me, my parents would always be my safe place. But they were the ones who threw me into hell. I kept asking myself, how could the people who gave me life be so heartless? I packed up whatever I could and walked away from that house, from my past. But the fear didn't go anywhere. Even in the middle of a crowded street in a city where nobody knows me, I still feel it. That invisible gaze, like someone is watching me, making every breath catch in my throat. Every night, I push a chair against the door and keep a knife under my pillow. I don't sleep to rest. I sleep to survive, stuck in a nightmare that never lets go. I have never forgotten that night, the night I first truly felt fear. I was only 16 years old at the time, living with my parents in an old house a few miles outside of town. The house had an old-fashioned design with a sloping roof and stained glass windows. The wind would whistle through the cracks in the windows, bringing with it the smell of damp earth, making the place both cozy and eerie in its own way. We didn't own the house, but rented it through a middle-aged man, Mr. Dwight. Both my parents worked the night shift at the town hospital, my dad in the emergency room, and my mom as a nurse. They would leave the house late in the afternoon and not return until the next morning. So I was used to being home alone, even though it could be a bit chilly and sometimes downright scary. That night, The sky outside was pitch black. I sat in the living room, the dim light from the lamp casting a soft yellow glow on the cracked walls. I was curled up on the couch, reading an old book, when I heard a noise. It sounded like someone walking on the gravel outside. At first, I thought it was the neighbors' pets. They often ran into my yard like that. But then, I heard another sound. It was a light tap on the window. I sat up straight, my heart pounding. Through the dim light, I saw a shadow outside. I held my breath, staring through the glass. It was a man dressed in black, with a scarf covering his face, and the figure looked very familiar. His eyes sent a chill down my spine, slowly, as if peering right through the glass, looking straight into my mind. He pressed his hand against the window, as if trying to get a better look inside. I froze, not daring to move. After a moment, he started walking around the house, trying all the doors. The back door creaked as he grabbed the handle, then the side door, then the front door. Each movement was smooth and deliberate, as if he knew the house layout very well. "I know you're in there. Don't hide. I have a special gift for you," he said in a flat, drawn-out voice. I snapped out of my fear-induced stupor and ran to lock all the doors, securing each lock as quickly as I could. My hands were shaking as I grabbed the key, trying to twist it fast before the man got any closer. I looked up and saw that he had returned to the living room window. His eyes were fixed on me through the glass, and a twisted smile appeared on his face under the dim light. I tried to stay calm and reached for the phone on the table. I texted my dad. "Dad, there's a strange man. He's walking around the house. Please come home." I didn't call because I was afraid he might hear the ringtone or my voice. The house was so quiet that even the smallest sound could echo. When I sent the text, I heard the window shaking. He was trying to open it. I crawled off the couch, doing my best not to make any noise. I hid in the dark corner between the couch and the bookshelf, listening to my own breath. The wind outside still howled, but his footsteps and the sound of the door handles rattling as he tried to open them made my heart race. He was muttering something, but I couldn't make out the words. Time seemed to stretch on, as if every second lasted an eternity. Then suddenly, everything went silent. No more footsteps, no more tapping. I didn't dare leave my hiding spot. A little while later, I heard the sound of my dad's car pulling into the driveway. I ran outside, tears streaming down my face, and threw myself into my dad's arms. My dad looked around and saw a small brown box right in front of the front door. On top of it was a piece of paper with messy handwriting. A gift for my little girl. Inside the box was an old, worn doll with wide, unblinking eyes. My dad scanned the area, then noticed a pale pink envelope right by the door. My name was written on it in capital letters, along with a small heart symbol next to it. Inside the envelope were photos of me, watering plants in the garden, laughing while playing with the dogs, and even one of me sleeping in my own room. I felt my blood run cold when I saw the scribbled note on a small piece of paper. "You look so beautiful when you're alone." The police arrived shortly after and began searching the house, inside and out. The next morning, they discovered fingerprints on the living room window, where the man had tried to open it. Additionally, security footage from a nearby house showed him lurking around the area that night. When the police investigated further, they found a hidden door in the basement, a door that my family had never known about. The door led to a secret room filled with strange objects, old film reels, antique cameras, and numerous photographs of women, including me. The police confirmed that part of the house's structure had been altered before it was rented out, serving a sick purpose. Mr. Dwight, the landlord, was immediately arrested. He quickly confessed to his crimes, but did so with a disturbing sense of pleasure. He also admitted that he hadn't just done this to my family. The house was his great design, a place where he had lured many victims before. Some girls had luckily escaped, but not all of them. That secret room was now part of the investigation into missing persons cases in the area. So it turned out that his friendly and eager demeanor, promoting the house as a safe, peaceful place for families, was all an act. He had even agreed to lower the rent, claiming it was to keep the house occupied and prevent damage. But all of those actions were not out of kindness. They were because he wanted easy access to my family, especially me. My family immediately packed up and moved to a place closer to town, with friendly neighbors and modern security systems. We sold most of our old belongings because we didn't want to take anything that had once belonged to that house. But even though we had moved, the haunting never left me. Sometimes, I dream of Mr. Dwight's eyes watching me from the basement window, staring at me unblinking. I always feel like someone is watching me, even when I know I'm in a much safer place.